Welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 till 9 to help small businesses. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments of the live feed. And if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit's QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. During the live session, we'll be running a poll, so please do engage with it and I'll reveal the results at the end. So hi, I'm Lucy. I'm the founder of Isle Bookkeep, an accountancy practice based on the Isle of Wight. We specialise in implementing paperless systems for our clients. We like to take the stress out of accounting and help business owners feel more in control of their finances. We're also a finalist in the 2021 British Business Excellence Awards. So let's dive straight in. First of all, we're going to be talking about when to register for VAT, how to register. We're going to touch on a few extra points. The benefits of registering early, so like voluntary registration. We're going to go through a few VAT schemes and exceptions. So if you temporarily go over the turnover, if you go over the turnover threshold. So let's dive straight in. VAT is basically a tax on most goods and services based in the UK. So it's good to just start off with the basics. You're basically paying tax on the value of the goods or services that you purchase. And VAT is calculated on a percentage, and at the moment, the standard rate is 20%. So when should you register for VAT? Well, you need to register for VAT when your VAT taxable turnover goes over the threshold of £85,000 in any rolling 12 months. You need to register basically if you believe you're going to go over this threshold within the next 30 days. It's really important to note that it is a rolling 12 months, so it could be any period, and it's not just based on your financial year. So this VAT taxable turnover that we need to calculate, it's basically everything that you sell that is not tax exempt. And I want to point out here, we're saying tax exempt. So tax exempt is very, very different to zero rated. So anything that you sell that is not tax exempt. The threshold of £85,000, it can change in April every year. However, this year, in April 2022, it will not be changing, so it will stay at the threshold of £85,000. When you register, you'll be sent a VAT registration certificate, and it will have your VAT number on it, along with details of when you need to submit the first VAT return and when you need to make a payment. It also shows something called the effective date of registration. The effective date of registration is the date that you realise that you went over the threshold, not the date your turnover actually went over the threshold, okay? So it's the date you realised. You need to register at the end of the month in which you've gone over the threshold, okay? So that's when you need to register. Your effective date of registration then is the first day of the second month after you've gone over the threshold. So the first day of the second month after that month. It's important to note that whilst you have applied to become VAT registered, you can't show or charge for VAT on your invoices until you actually receive your VAT number. So, but however, you do need to charge VAT, you do need to pay the VAT to HMRC for that period. So what you should do, in my opinion, you should basically increase your prices to allow for the VAT and basically tell your customers why you've had that increase. Don't actually show it as VAT, but increase the price. Then once you receive your VAT number, you can then reissue the invoice showing the VAT that you have calculated. So how do you register? Well, the best way to register for VAT is to do it online on HMRC's website. So by doing this, you'll register for VAT, you'll have an online VAT account or a government gateway account, And you'll basically need to submit your VAT returns online to HMRC. You can also assign an accountant to become your agent on your account, which is great. And then they will be able to submit the VAT returns on your behalf and deal with HMRC as well on your behalf. When you receive your number from HMRC, you can then sign up for your online VAT account. So there are a few rare occasions that you can't sign up for an online account, but the majority of the time you can. The few rare occasions could include things such as if you're registering for an exception, which we'll go on to later, or if you're joining things such as the agricultural flat rate scheme. However, most people can just apply normally online, but it is always best to check in your circumstances. So you should get your VAT registration certificate within 30 days, and you'll be able to see it on your VAT online account on HMRC as well. When registering, you'll need to provide details such as your turnover, business activity, and bank details. So these are really important. And your registration date is known as your effective date of registration. So that's really important. As we discussed earlier, it is that date instead of the date you actually went over your turnover. You'll have to pay HMRC any VAT due from the date that we spoke about as well. If you take over a VAT registered business, you need to make sure that that you're registered for VAT, because you may need to basically register. If you register late, you can also have late filing penalties and things like that, or late penalties, depending on how much you owe HMRC based on when your turnover went over it and how late your registration is. Just some extra points to note. There are different thresholds and rules if you're distance selling into Northern Ireland and bringing goods into Northern Ireland. And also if you're completing EC sales lists, there's different rules. So bear in mind that today we're talking mainly about kind of based in the UK or based in England. There's a deregistration threshold as well, which is good to know. We're going to go on to that in a little bit more detail in a minute, of £83,000. So that's your taxable turnover. If it goes below the £83,000, you can deregister. It's worth noting that there's no threshold if neither yourself nor the business are based in the UK. Most VAT registered businesses that earn over £85,000 now also must follow the rules for MTD for VAT. So this is Making Tax Digital. There's a lot online about Making Tax Digital, but basically, as long as you have a software that you're doing everything electronically, then you should be fine. HMRC basically expect you to keep all your records for 6 years plus the current financial year that you're in. So make sure that you're keeping all of your records, however they're based. The benefits of registering early, so voluntary registration. So you can register voluntarily if your turnover is less than £85,000, unless everything that you sell is VAT exempt. So we know that you can't, it's not part of your taxable turnover. Registering for VAT early will still give you a lot of responsibilities. So don't think just because you're doing it voluntarily that you won't have these responsibilities, because you will. So from your effective date of registration, you must charge the correct amount of VAT on all of your sales. You also need to pay any VAT due to HMRC, submit your VAT returns, keep VAT records, and have a VAT account in HMRC. There's different reasons why registering early could be beneficial. Some of them include you can claim back the VAT on certain expenses that were made before as well as at the moment, before you registered. If your suppliers are VAT registered, you will be paying the VAT on their invoices anyway. So when you become VAT registered, even if it's voluntary, voluntarily, you can reclaim these back from HMRC. Also, if your competitors are VAT registered, it makes sense that you're VAT registered as well, because then, it can also make your business seem more credible, because most VAT registered businesses have a taxable turnover of over £85,000. And there are also a lot of VAT schemes that can basically make it really beneficial for the business, which we're going to go into in a little bit more detail in a second. There are a few reasons not to go voluntarily VAT registered. It may not be as competitive if your competitors are not VAT registered, or even if they are, you're going to be that little bit more expensive. So bear that in mind. Bear in mind as well who your customers are. If your customers are people and not businesses, they're going to be a little bit more price sensitive, because they can't reclaim that VAT back, and they're more likely to go to somebody else who isn't VAT registered. We're going to touch on VAT schemes. So the two VAT schemes that I'm going to touch on are the standard rate scheme and flat rate scheme. So the standard rate is basically reclaiming VAT on every eligible item that you buy or you sell. So that's just standard. It's basic, 20%, 20%. What's the difference? Then we have the flat rate scheme. So this is open to businesses with expected turnover of less than £150,000. This has basically been created, the flat rate scheme, as a simplified process. You basically pay over a predetermined percentage to HMRC. So you still charge out the 20% standard rate charge on your invoices and collect the full amount from your customers when they pay you. But then you pay HMRC a set percentage on the gross amount of your sales, and the difference between those two, so for instance, in my case, in the accounting industry, I believe it's 14.5%. The difference between the 20% and the 14.5% would go into my pocket, basically. It would be retained in the business as income. You can check on the HMRC website to find out the applicable rates for your industry, because every industry is different. And also, a really good thing is that they apply, it's not massive, but they apply a 1% discount in the first year, which definitely helps. It's really, really important to note, though, that you can't reclaim VAT on the flat rate scheme, on the purchases that you've made, unless they are capital items over £2,000. So bear that in mind. With service-based businesses, normally your expenses are quite low, so it works out quite well. So have a little think about whether that would help you, or whether it would actually benefit you more to go on the standard rate. Exceptions. So this is if you're temporarily, you have a temporary turnover increase, basically. So you can apply for a registration exception if your taxable turnover goes over the threshold temporarily. You'll need to write to HMRC with evidence showing why your taxable turnover has gone over and why it will not go over the deregistration threshold of £83,000 within the next 12 months. HMRC will basically consider your exception, and they'll write to you confirming if you get one, and if not, they will write to you anyway and let you know that they have registered you for VAT. So the last point I'm going to leave you on is something to remember. Remember to check your rolling taxable turnover every month if you are nearing the VAT threshold. So without further ado, let's head straight into the Q&A. Okay, so Hugh on Instagram DM. I have 2 part-time freelancers who help me manage a small e-commerce store. Do you need to be on payroll if they just work part-time? Do they need to be on payroll if they just work part-time? No, they don't need to be on payroll. Basically, they can be freelancers. They can send in their invoices. That's no problem at all. It's completely up to you whether you put them on payroll. There could be benefits for the person individually, but it also really depends on how much they're being paid. And And also if they're freelancers, whether they would rather work for other people or as well at the same time. So it really depends, but they don't need to go on payroll. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. If you've got any other, if you've got any other like parts to that, just let me know and I'm sure I can help. Casey on Instagram DM, I've heard a bit about making tax digital, but I don't really understand when I need to register and what I need to do. I am VAT registered currently. What do I do? Okay, so basically there's two different systems. There's the old VAT system and there's the new VAT system. So basically you want to make sure that you are on the Making Tax Digital system. HMRC will move everyone onto it anyway. Personally, we move all our clients onto it if they haven't already signed up. If they signed up recently, you're basically already on the latest Making Tax Digital. And if you do have an accountant, they'll be able to tell you. But yeah, everyone that we bring on, they go automatically onto Making Tax Digital anyway. So that's like the HMRC part of Making Tax Digital. When it comes to so what do you do? You'll need your accounting software set up. So make sure that that's all kind of working and that's digital. And basically, whether you do it or your accountant does it, they will need to make submissions digitally directly to HMRC. So I hope that answers your questions. If you've got any parts directly to that, just let me know and we can dive into it a little bit deeper. Ruben on Twitter DM, what happens if I've gone over the VAT threshold, but I haven't yet registered for VAT? Okay, so I've spoken a little bit about it, Ruben, but basically, if you've gone over the VAT threshold, you'll need to pay for the VAT that you should have paid from when you've gone over the VAT threshold. It depends when you went over as well. If you've gone over within those 2 months, let HMRC know as soon as you know, and just get it sorted. HMRC are kind of going to work with you to try and help you at the end of the day. So have a talk to them, see what you can do, come to some kind of arrangement. If you need any help at all, we can always go through that. But that really helps emphasize that last point of check your rolling taxable turnover, because yeah, it's really important. You definitely want to kind of be able to catch it almost before it happens, and also be aware whether you want to go over it, whether it's something you'd rather just stay under and kind of keep your sales down, get rid of people, or some people do prefer to stay under it. Other people, you want to grow, and that's great. But yeah, find out what you want to do without kind of being forced into it. Right, Shane on Facebook Messenger. My business is looking to expand into other territories because we've seen amazing growth here in the UK in our first 2 years. However, the VAT system for other countries really confuses me. Do I need to register in every single country? We might make every single country we might make a sale on. What if we only make a handful of sales in some countries? Oh my goodness. Okay, Shane, this is a massive question and it really depends in loads of areas. I'm going to hit on the US, for instance. Every single state has a different rule. So don't even get me started. There's literally different thresholds, different percentages, everything. So that's really important. It's also really important to know that your accountant can basically keep a track of things like that. And a lot of the time you won't hit the thresholds anyway, so it's fine, but it's best to basically keep an eye on things. Then we have kind of the EU system, which again, there's more complexities there, especially what I was mentioning earlier about Northern Ireland. So yeah, reach out to an accountant, speak it through, talk about kind of how you're going to do that. And it's basically how much are you expecting to come through as sales. So I hope that answers your question, Shane. If you need any more information, just reach out. Jenny on Twitter DM, I was unaware of some of those VAT schemes. How do I figure out if I'm entitled to one? And are you able to backdate it, or does it only apply from the time I sign up? So yes and no. You can backdate when you sign up, you can backdate to previous expenses, so you can pull those in, which could really help. With regards to the schemes, so like the flat rate, if you go on HMRC and just put in kind of flat rate schemes, you'll find basically a massive list of industries. You need to, I can't see you put an industry, but Jenny, you'll need to pick your VAT industry, see if it's beneficial. If obviously there's a big difference, so between mine 14.5 and 20%, that's great. If it's really marginal, it's 19%, it may not be as beneficial for you. Remember, you get the extra 1%, so have a little think. But yeah, you'll basically be able to backdate. I'll explain all the details to you, but you can backdate certain things depending on whether they're expenses. Basically, you can backdate services, things like that, and subscriptions, things like that as well. So yeah, have a little think. If one does apply to you, reach out, because yeah, they can be really helpful, but it's very dependent on your circumstances. Carl on Instagram DM. Is there any point in deregistering for VAT? I've not had turnover above 85,000 for the last 2 years, but I'm not sure if I'll be above it this year yet. So basically, there's a few reasons why you may want to deregister for VAT, but it sort of depends. It really depends on what are your expenses like. Are you working with a lot of suppliers who are VAT registered? If you're not, and a lot of your suppliers are really small and they're not VAT registered, you're not going to be able to reclaim that VAT from them. And therefore, you're not going to be benefiting because you're not going to be offsetting that VAT. So have a little think about that. If you're definitely going to be below the 83,000 and you don't intend going over the 85,000, in the next couple of years or so, it may be worth having a think about. It's also dependent on kind of competitors, customers, things like that. If you're working directly with people instead of businesses, it's probably more likely to deregister. However, if you're working with businesses who are VAT registered, it may be more beneficial. So there's so many things to it, but let me know, Carl, if you want to kind of talk things through, because yeah, it may be that we can come to some kind of conclusion that will help you kind of get that clear. Okay, Fatima on Twitter DM. I'm unclear what is and isn't included when calculating turnover to see if we do have to pay VAT or not. What should we be calculating? Okay, so you're unclear on what is and isn't included when calculating turnover. So basically, your turnover is every single sale that you make, your taxable turnover. So if you only sell taxable items, so in a service-based industry, it will just be your full amount of turnover, full sales over that rolling 12-month period. If you did sell exempt goods, so like children's clothes, honestly, there's so many, like books and things like that. If you did sell exempt goods, that's when you would need to basically split it apart. But for most people, it would just be that turnover figure. You're not sure what's included in turnover. So yeah, it would just be that you're paying the VAT on. Then you've obviously got your expenses, which you can claim any VAT on if they are VAT registered. So yeah, hopefully that explains that, Fatima. Tina on Instagram DM. I've been selling a few items, crafts and whatnot, over Facebook, but I didn't realise I needed to set up a business or register as self-employed. When would I have to start paying taxes? So Tina, basically, it depends. Have you gone over the £1,000 threshold? If you haven't, you can say that it's a hobby, it's £1,000, you don't need to declare anything. Fine. If it is above that, then we do need to calculate how much you owe on your self-assessment tax return. This isn't anything to do with VAT at the moment. If you have gone over the VAT threshold, that's when VAT will be included. You basically will start paying taxes after you make 12,570, because that's the personal allowance amount. But you still need to prepare a self-assessment tax return, declare that you're employed. You should register as self-employed within the first 3 months. You do have until October the following year, but it is always best to sign up as soon as possible. So yeah, I think that answers all of your questions, but yeah, if you need any help, let me know. Okay, Alex on Facebook Messenger. I'm about to hit the VAT threshold, but I'm unclear on what I can and cannot claim VAT on. Am I right that we can for materials and tools if we've still got them in stock or being used? But what about things like services like web hosting or van hire? Okay, so everything you're talking about is completely fine as long as you have VAT receipts. So with becoming VAT registered, the responsibility is basically to have all of your records. So you need all of your VAT receipts. You need to be able to basically prove that you are receiving VAT on those items. You should try to comply with MTD. So like Making Tax Digital, have everything digitally there. So yeah, basically anything with VAT on it, any of those expenses that you've listed there, materials, tools, services, all of that is completely fine to go through. So yeah, you can reclaim VAT on all of that. Obviously, make sure that there is VAT on the items. They're not a company who's not VAT registered. So that's really, really important. But yeah, hopefully that helps you. Right. Sanya on Twitter DM. What impact has Brexit had on the VAT system for businesses who sell in the EU? Okay, so that's a massive topic. Basically, I don't know whether it's just Brexit or whether there's been a lot of things happening outside of Brexit and a lot of things happening inside of Brexit. But there are a lot of changes in the VAT system. Feel free to head over to my Instagram. You'll see I talk about things like MOS. Don't ask, you'll have to have a look. But yeah, there's lots and lots of different VAT systems based around selling into the EU. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to cover all of that massive topic in another session. Right, the poll results are in. We asked you, is your business registered for VAT? 20% of you said yes, and 80% of you said no. Wow, that's impressive, actually. A lot of you are not VAT registered. So basically, you're probably here to find out whether you should become VAT registered, whether it's going to be beneficial for you. You know, the flat rate scheme might be an idea. So brilliant, you're in the right place. Anyway, thank you for tuning in this morning. If you want to get in contact with me, feel free to DM me on Instagram. My handle is @IsleBookkeep. And find out more information about my business on www.islebook-keep.co.uk. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is speaker, author, and impact coach, Esther Stanhope. Tune in to learn how you can avoid letting perfectionism ruin your business. Wow, that sounds like a good one. A reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit's QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. I've really enjoyed answering all of your questions today. Have a great day.